Hi everyone, here we are at the first of the year, and everybody's favorite unit to start off with is, of course, safety. Safety is very important in the science classroom, and it keeps us safe and keeps us from getting hurt and keeps us plugging along and doesn't helps us not to disrupt your learning. First, I want to remind you that you need a 3-ring view-through binder just for your science class. This binder will stay in class. There'll be a place for you to keep it. If you needed to take your work out of it, let's say you needed to finish an assignment or needed to study something, you simply just take that out of your binder and then put it back in when you're finished. Being organized is a skill and a tool that you're going to need not only through all of your school career, but it'll also help you out as you go into adulthood. So what do I mean by a 3-ring binder? A 3-ring binder is not one of these. So not one with a small tab on it like these here. These 3-ring binders don't have any view through and don't have any tabs on the side. And so I'm going to show you an example of a view-through binder. A view-through binder is where you can put a page in the front and then you can put a full title slip on the side. I'm going to put your name here, and this will have your class, and we will keep it in the classroom. Binder checks will be random and they'll be regular to make sure that you're taking advantage of learning this organization skill and keeping your folder up to date. So here's an example of a view-through binder. About 1 inch to 1.5 inches is probably going to be good for this semester. And so on this view-through binder, you can see that I put a title page. So this will have your class on it. And on the side, I have this full page marker here that I can put in, and I'll put your name on that. And so when you go to the bookshelf or wherever we keep the binders, you just look for your name and pick up that notebook. So a 1 inch to 1.5 inch view-through binder, which means this page comes up and it has this full bookmark page here. I know that Dollar Tree carries these, so keep your lookout for a good bargain. If you can't get one, maybe you just things are preventing you from getting one, just let me know and I'll try to find a way to get one to you. No problem whatsoever. Also, if you wanted to, you could get dividers. We'll probably have 4 or 5 units this semester. Or you can just use colored paper as an example here. If you don't have any colored paper, let me know and I'll try to track some down for you. No problem, just ask for help anytime you need anything, and if I can, I'll get it for you. We need to have this by Monday 8/14. That way we can get started with our organization and start putting stuff in there. The first things you're going to put in there are your science syllabus and your science safety contract. As soon as I get them scanned, you'll put those in the front of your binder so that you'll always know where they're at. As I start out the year, I like to talk to students about how people think of education. They think that when students come into school or come into my classroom, that you don't know anything, that you're a blank slate, you're a tabula rasa. Tabula rasa means blank slate. So you can see in the Calvin Hobbes cartoon kind of illustrates this, that you walk in my room not knowing anything, and then I talk and yabber and we do things together and we do manipulatives, and then I fill your brain with stuff. And then at the end of the day, you go home and you have stuff in your brain that you didn't have when you walked in. Unfortunately, most people have it wrong. You come into class knowing a lot of stuff. You read, you watch TV, you're on the internet, you're watching, I don't know, videos. So you come into my classroom with a lot of things already up there in your noggin. And we're going to work together on how to make sure that you have the right stuff wired together and that you make new stuff in your brain also. So you're not a blank slate. Another thing that I like to go over is Truxling. And so I'm going to read this twice. You may want to take a couple of notes because maybe I'll give you a quiz. And so here we go. The montillation of Truxling. It is very important that you learn about Truxling. Truxling is a new form of Zionter. It is montilled in Serostana. The Serostanians grisellate large amounts of Fevon and then bracter it to quasal Truxling. Truxling may well be one of our most leukocyzed nozzles in the future because of our Zionter lissilage. Ready for the pop quiz yet? Actually, I'm not going to read it twice. I'll just read it once. So what do you think? You ready? Well, I'm going to switch the slide and I'm going to ask you a question and see if you can answer it. Where is Truxling montilled? What is Zionter? What does it mean to lissilage? If you're like me when I first went through this activity, I'm like, whatever. How am I supposed to understand these words? They don't make any sense. They're just a bunch of gibberish. The point of this activity is that if you don't learn the vocabulary as you're going along in science, it's all just going to be Truxling. You're not going to understand anything. It's just going to be gibberish. Science is full of vocabulary. Any science class that you take, you're going to have to learn vocabulary. So keep that in mind as we work through our units. Not only do you need to know the vocabulary term, you probably need to have a concept construed in your brain about what it is. And I'm going to help you work through how to make those constructs. Vocab, vocab, vocab. If you don't learn the vocabulary, everything is just going to be Truxling, and at the end of the day, you will not have learned anything. You're probably going, whew, I wouldn't have passed that quiz. Okay, here's a safety video. I'm going to post it for you, and it'll be in the links. But I'm not going to play it for you here in the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is really just for me to talk through what we did in case you missed class. So I'm not going to play the video. The next thing is you are going to sign up for several things, and one of those is Quizlet. Again, I'll have these links in the posted for you. Quizlet is a website. Here, let me pull it up. How can I make it smaller to fit in a window? Okay, you can see enough of it. Quizlet is a review website that's used by thousands of students across the United States and worldwide. It's more or less interactive flashcards. And so we will play some review games from this called Quizlet Live, but there are several things on here that I might assign you assignments from. And so just to walk through real quick what those assignments might look like, if we click on here just to look. Here are the things that yours will look different than mine because I have a teacher account, but you'll have flashcards, test, learn, and match. And so flashcards are just what they say. You flip one side and then the other side has the answer. Test, it'll randomly give you 10 questions on the vocabulary. Learn will help you learn the definitions, and then match is where you have cards that you can move and put together. So you'll have the definition on one side and a whole bunch of, here, I'll just show you real quick. So you have the definition here, the word here, and the definition here, and you just pick them up and put them together. And you can see I got that wrong. So that's flashcards. Let's just go ahead and look at them while we're here. Why not? You got learn. And so here you have the definition, and it gives you 4 choices. And so it'll give you 1 to 10 questions there to help you review. You have test. Again, it's going to give you some things to look over. So here it gives you 20 things in the test. So that helps you review. And then you have the flashcards. So one side word, one side definition. And again, this is used by students around the world. Another thing you'll need to join is called quizzes. And it'll be something that we use for review and play together. And so you can see all the different ones here. And what it is sometimes it'll give you multiple choice questions, matching, and it is like a practice quiz. And so that'll be there for you. And then one thing we'll use probably almost every day is called formative.com. And all of these you're going to sign up with your Microsoft account, your school Microsoft account, your student ID at fcstu.org. So when you go to Formative, you get this web page here, this front page, and then you click on Dashboard. So here you see it says Me. And here you can have online worksheets, you can have reviews, you can have quizzes, a whole bunch of things are here in Formative. And so those are 3 things that we'll be using in class periodically. For Quizlet, there is one thing that you need to do, and that is you need to make sure that your username is your last name _ first name _ the year you graduate. This is important because think about it. I'm going to be looking at 150 or more Quizlet accounts, and having them alphabetized is really going to help. So you can't be Yorkie 5287. You have to have your last name _ first name. Sign in with your Microsoft account. If you have trouble changing your username or password, just let me know. And this video here that I'll post for you will help you sign up and change your username. So in time of class, gave you a little bit of time to set that up. Oh, this should say Johnson Pebble 1989. Let me fix that. That's the year I graduated. Yes, I am old. It's the best decade, the 80s. We talked about that. Okay, another thing that we'll use is your textbook. And so the first thing we're going to be doing is safety. And so to get to your textbook, you have to go to ClassLink. And so if we go to ClassLink, waiting. Here is your textbook. And your setup is going to look different than mine because I have a teacher's account, but you'll have assignments in here. And so one of the first things that we're going to do is read through the safety portion of your lab notebook on your online textbook. And so in class, we took about 10 minutes to cruise that. You also have a safety contract. The safety contract you need to take home and you're going to sign it and your parents are going to sign it. And then have that returned back by 8/14. Everything's going to be 8/14. You're going to have your syllabus page signed, your signed safety contract by you and your parents, and then you'll have your 3-ring notebook that's view through 3-ring notebook that's going to be due on Monday 8/14. Okay, so we're going to start off here with a safety cartoon. And so if you're watching this because you missed class, here's where you're going to pause the video and get the safety cartoon handout or print it out. It'll be on probably on our team's website. And in the safety cartoon, you are going to do several things. There is a front and a back to the cartoon. And so in the cartoon, you're going to circle things that are unsafe in red. So you'll get a red pen or a red marker, and you'll circle those things that are not good to have in a science safety classroom. You're going to circle the things that are good lab safety in green. You're going to circle things that shouldn't be in the lab in yellow, and things that should be there in purple. So this is the time where you would pause the video, circle these things, flip the page over, and answer the questions on the back. Okay, so let's go over some of the answers. List 3 unsafe activities shown in the cartoon and explain why each is unsafe. This is on the questions are on the back of your safety cartoon. And so there's more than 3. Hopefully you found them all. First thing, Jim is drinking something in the lab. It's not good lab practice to eat or drink in the lab as you're working. Things can get contaminated, have things splash in them, that sort of thing. So don't bring food into the lab. Joe is really living life on the edge, and he's drinking the chemicals that they're using in the lab. But he's also doing something. He's probably trying to transfer the chemicals from that bottle to a beaker. And you never do that by mouth pipetting. Sue's hair isn't tied back. And if you ever smelt hair that's been on fire, it smells horrible. And so Sue should have her hair tied back in the science classroom. Doesn't take more than a nanosecond for hair to catch fire. Tim and Ray, please don't horseplay when we're doing a lab. It's not safe and you could hurt someone. I've known kids that have tripped and fallen and their head has hit the corner of the lab table, and luckily they missed their eyeball, because that impact could have really hurt either popped their eyeball out or hurt them really bad. And so it doesn't take much for accidents to happen. And if we just don't horseplay, it won't happen. Bob accidentally broke a beaker. And so that shouldn't definitely not be there. He should be contacting the teacher as soon as he can. Scissors in the outlet. Yeah, no, not funny. We won't be doing any of that. We all know that metal and electricity doesn't work well together. Betty's putting on makeup. Lab is not the time for you to be all beautified. Don't spray cologne. Don't put on lipstick. Don't comb your hair. Just hang out in lab and get your work done. Duke is looking in a microscope and he's using light directly from the sun. If you know anything about magnification, direct sunlight being magnified into your eyes could really do some damage to your eye and cause you to have some sight problems. So you should probably use indirect light or the light given by the microscope. Spills and trash in the lab should always be picked up immediately. A piece of paper, you need to pick it up. Spills are one of the spills, and paper on the floor, debris are the main causes a lot of accidents by someone tripping or falling. No food or drink in the lab. Again, just not good practice. Okay, next. List 3 correct lab procedures depicted in the cartoon. Well, John is cleaning up after lab but they both should have lab safety goggles on. Soap can splash in your eye. Some of the chemicals should still be left and splash in your eye, but they are doing good in that they're cleaning up the lab. Tim and Carol have on safety goggles. Very important. Carl is using a pipette to transfer the liquid instead of doing what Joe is doing by sucking it up with a straw, pinching the straw, and then transferring it. Tina is using tongs to handle hot glassware. A lot of times kids burn themselves in lab because they don't use tongs. They just pick up the hot test tube and they get a burn. Luke is using the light that comes with the microscope instead of using direct sunlight to look into the microscope. Number 3, what should Bob do after he accidentally broke the glass beaker? Contact the teacher. You need to make sure that you're cleaning up the glass in a safe way. Make sure to let your teacher know so that you can help, he or she can help, or make sure that you dispose of the glass properly. What should Sue have done to avoid the accident of her hair catching a fire? Tie that hair back. I have a lot of hair. It's very thick. And when I was in chemistry lab, I was always pulling my hair back. I did not want my hair to catch on fire. Number 5, compare Luke and Duke's lab techniques. Who is following the lab safety rules? Well, we already talked about that Duke is using direct sunlight, which is being magnified into the microscope, into his eye, which would cause some eye damage, versus Luke is using the light provided by the microscope, which is the preferred safety technique. Now, you can use light just as long as it's not direct, that it's coming in through a shade or not directly beaming into the microscope. What are 3 things shown in the lab that should not be there? The soda, the chips, the scissors in the outlet. Most definitely, we are not going to do that. Number 7, compare Joe and Carl's lab techniques. Who is using good lab safety? Again, we have talked about that Carl is transferring the liquid using a pipette, and Joe is using a straw and sucking up the liquid into the straw, which some of it's going to get in his mouth, and using that to transfer the liquid. So Carl is definitely doing what he's supposed to be doing. 8, what will happen to Ray and Tim when the teacher sees their activity? Now, this is a good one because depending on what school you're at will depend on how it is handled. So you could get sent to the administrator's office or the principal, which is never good news. Well, sometimes it is. A 0 for that lesson, not just for the activity, the entire lesson. So this lesson is on safety. It would be for everything that we did in that safety unit. So don't risk it. Don't horseplay in the lab. It's a big deal, and us teachers take it very seriously. We actually have nightmares about you guys getting hurt in the lab, and it's the last thing we want is for you guys to get hurt. So please don't horseplay. It only takes a second for something to happen. We'll probably have to call in your parents and have a meeting with you and your principal and me, your teacher, to go over why safety is so important. You may not be able to participate in the labs for the rest of the year, which means you wouldn't be able to get a grade on those activities either. So just don't horseplay, and you won't have to worry about it. That's the moral of the story. Be good, kiddaroos. Okay, list 3 items in the cartoon that are there for safety of the student in the lab. So the first is the first aid kit. Whenever you're doing a lab, it's just like when you get on an airplane and the stewardess stands in the front and shows you how to buckle your seatbelt and where the oxygen mask is and that you should put yours on first. Whenever you're in a science classroom, it doesn't every day. It doesn't matter if you're doing a lab or not. You should be aware of where the safety things are in the classroom. Where is the first aid kit? Where is the fire extinguisher? And where's the fire blanket? Not all classrooms are equipped with a fire blanket. Most chemistry labs most definitely are. And an eye wash station. Most chemistry labs will have an eye wash station. Some science classrooms may not, because you might not be dealing with any chemicals. And then what is Betty doing wrong? Well, she's getting all beautified during lab. Save that for in between class. Don't comb your hair, don't put on cologne, don't put on makeup during a lab. Just good practice. Okay, now we're done with the safety cartoon, and now we're going to go on to SpongeBob Safety. And so the instructions say, the Bikini Bottom gang has been learning safety rules during science class. Read the paragraphs to find broken safety rules and underline each one. How many can you find? So this is a point where you're going to stop the video, because in class we worked on it. Stop the video and work on the worksheet. When you're finished, you can start the video back up again. So the first paragraph, SpongeBob, Patrick, and Gary were thrilled when Mr. Krabs gave their teacher a chemistry set. Mr. Krabs warned them to be careful and remind them to follow the safety rules they had learned in science class. The teacher passed out the materials and provided each person with an experiment book. So, were any safety rules broken? Not yet. Okay, next paragraph. Hopefully you found them all. SpongeBob and Gary flipped through the book and decided to test the properties of a mystery substance. Since the teacher did not tell them to wear safety goggles, they left them on the table. SpongeBob lit the Bunsen burner and then reached across the flame to get a test tube from Gary. In the process, he knocked over a bottle of the mystery substance, and a little bit splashed on Gary. SpongeBob poured some of the substance into a test tube and began to heat it. When it started to bubble, he looked into the test tube to see what was happening and pointed it towards Gary so he could see. Gary thought it smelled weird, so he took a deep whiff of it. He didn't think it smelled poisonous and tasted a little bit of the substance. They were worried about running out of time, so they left the test tube and the materials on the table and moved to a different station to try another experiment. And that depends on the teacher. The teacher might have wanted them to leave their test tube and materials on the desk. Next paragraph. Patrick didn't want to waste time reading the directions, so he put on some safety goggles and picked a couple of different substances. He tested them with vinegar, which is a weak acid, to see what would happen, even though he didn't have permission to experiment on his own. He noticed that one of the substances did not do anything, but the other one fizzed. He also mixed two substances together to see what would happen, but didn't notice anything. He saw SpongeBob and Gary heating something in the test tube and decided to do that test. He ran over to that station and knocked over a couple of bottles that SpongeBob had left open. After cleaning up the spills, he read the directions and found the materials he needed. The only test tube he could find had a small crack in it, but he decided to use it anyway. He lit the Bunsen burner and used things to hold the test tube over the flame. He forgot to move his notebook out of the way from the flame and almost caught it on fire. So there you go. There's SpongeBob Safety, and there is our first day of safety together. Unit 0, Lesson 1, Safety.